Hi, welcome to part 3 of my deliverance testimony. So, my town has just had a tornado. I have just reached out to a friend of mine to see if she's okay, and I'm not hearing anything back. So, this friend was a big inspiration to me. She had gone through custody issues, she had gotten out of an abusive relationship, she was a vet, she was just a really powerful warrior, and she was an artist. She had all these plants and pets everywhere. She had the most beautiful home. But it wasn't because it was big, fancy, like a mansion. It was actually a double wide. It was the way that she cared for it. She had made it into this like boho oasis. It was so beautiful. And she was such an inspiration. And so my plan was to invite her to the gallery opening. And she couldn't drive at this time. She had an injury. So I was going to go and pick her up an hour away, take her to the gallery opening, tell her how much of the gallery, the aesthetic, the way I designed it, was based on her. And she has been such an inspiration to me, and I just loved her so much. And I was going to tell her all of this at the gallery opening, but I hadn't heard back, and I'm starting to get a little bit worried. And I hadn't actually heard from her since March. So here we are, the gallery is opening. It's about April 22nd now, somewhere around there. And I go on her Facebook page and I see a comment. And that's when I learned that somewhere in that month, she had chosen to take her own life. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I remember while I was painting and I was struggling and I was running around trying to get this space open, I remember the Holy Spirit telling me she's lonely, she's suicidal. And I remember I stopped and I prayed over her. As I was working, I was praying. And I think I had messaged to check in a little bit, but I didn't call. I didn't go over there. I just kept thinking, okay, I'm going to get this thing set up, and then I'm going to invite her to this opening. And I'll tell her how much I love her, and I'll tell her about Jesus, and I'll do all these things. But she didn't make it that far. And it hit me hard. I beat myself up over it some, like I should have been there, I should have called, I should have gone to her house. But then ultimately what I realized was, even if I had gone, what would I have done? I could have prayed for her. But as someone who was suicidal for 30 years, I know that kind of just put a Band-Aid on things. It didn't make it better overall. What she needed was deliverance, and I realized that I was ill-equipped to give that to her. I had gone through it myself, but I didn't know how to do it. And so when I finally had my gallery grand opening, I was sad, I was depressed. We had just gone through this horrible tornado. Nobody from my church had reached out to see if we were okay. I had just gotten my wisdom teeth cut out, and I was recovering like 5 days post-op, and I was mourning my friend, and so I didn't put a lot into it. It didn't have the same meaning as it did, and so I did our opening, and only 7 people showed up. The person I wanted there the most, like, she wasn't even alive anymore. But this had spearheaded something in me, this new fire, that I needed to go and make a change. I needed to make a difference for her. So the first move that I made is I started church hopping. I started looking for a new place. It's not that the people in my old church didn't love me. It's that I was so broken for so long that they had kind of given up on me, I think. I was so caught up in myself and quiet and closed off that nobody really knew I existed anymore. And the Lord was telling me it's time to move on and find a new space. And so I visited a couple churches, and honestly, some of them were even judgmental because I walked in as a single mom of 4, and some people were even flat out rude. But I had reached out to the lady who had done my deliverance. Her name was Andrea. She was always posting about this church called the Birthing Room. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try this church. So I walked in the door, and immediately the Holy Spirit said, welcome home. Because they were already setting the atmosphere and praying. And I could just feel that atmosphere when I walked in the lobby, and it sounded like, okay, good. We found our church. We're home. It only took me 4 times. Like, it was 4 weeks, and I found this church. And very shortly after I started going there, the pastor mentioned something about deliverance, and that's when the Lord reminded me that I had promised him I would go to deliverance. We opened in April. Now it's the first couple weeks of June. So again, I reached out to Andrea and said, hey, I know you do deliverance in person. I know there's a training for that. And I started going. This death of my friend is what opened up the door for me to start doing deliverance on other people. And if you want to see what happened from there, what happened with our business, like how did the Lord keep moving, then check out part 4.